Tom, Tyson Foods, thank you for stopping by.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, life has come full circle for me. I was joking, I was bringing you on here, shopping for Tyson food as a kid, and now we're talking to the guy who puts in the packages. So
thank you for being a consumer.
Yeah, I got to ask right off the bat that, I was going through your numbers, going through how you did last year in the quarter. You guys did pretty darn well, and that's not the normal story in the packaged food space. How are you making it happen?
We've been constantly focused on growth, and so maybe what you're referring to is not any other company in the consumer space is growing volume on a 52-week basis. So that's something that we've been really focused on. We've been investing a lot of money in it, but it's actually really working and it's helping. So we have the luxury, I would say, of being in the protein business, and everybody's trying to get more protein in their diet. That's number one. Number two is, if you think about the perimeter of the grocery store, that's where the action is. The center of the store is really having a tough time. So Tyson plays in the perimeter. So cleaner, fresher foods is what people want. And so that's big. Also, food service is a big part of our business, almost half and half. So whether or not somebody's eating out at a restaurant or they're taking food from a grocery store and cooking at home, we catch the consumer both ways. So it has been a great story for us, and we want to keep it up.
So you're just in a sweet spot.
We are. I think that, and the strategy that we've taken is to make sure that we have differentiated capabilities. So we say we want to grow the business, but we got to do it in a way that's differentiated so our shareholders get a premium, and so our total shareholder return versus all those people that aren't growing far exceeds in the last 3 years. 109%, the next closest is about 40%.
Sure.
So the way that we do that is by being different, but also having a focus on costs. A lot of times when you go to these conferences or talk to other companies, what they'll say is that they're really hunkering down on costs because they don't have a growth model. And so we said we want to do both. We are doing it. And we talked earlier about sustainability. That's something that is really important to us. Growing is good, making the numbers is extraordinarily important, obviously, but doing it in a way that sustains our company and our planet is important to us.
How is the business online versus bricks and mortar looking for you? I'm sure you have a very unique perspective into that.
Yeah. Right now, both are growing. The online is small, but certainly growing at a more rapid pace. Gotcha. But certainly the bricks and mortar is, it's the lifeblood of the business. It's really hard. In the categories that we play in, it's refrigerated and frozen foods. So center store products have moved online a lot more readily. But it's coming up the curve. People are getting more used to it. Companies that are doing meal kits, which we have a meal kit available, we ship through partners, but those that are attempting to go direct are finding cost to be a challenge, no surprise. Yeah. But for us, it all comes back to that consumer relevance. How are you attracting that consumer? Do they trust you as a company? Are you making sure that your brands are relevant? So I'd say whether it's online or not, it's growing, but online is growing much faster.
How do you think about that opportunity? You have an Amazon doing same-day delivery, a Walmart same-day delivery, all these companies doing meal kits. What does that opportunity look like for you guys?
It's big. It's big because we don't think it's going away. First is capturing the attention. So if a consumer is going to be, placing an order on their phone, or they're doing it, it's usually the phone, but if it's on, their terminal or on their PC, that is something that we want to be a part of. Now, it's very easy to say and very hard to do, but what makes it, I think, a little bit easier for a company like Tyson is we've got brands that people know. So if it's Jimmy Dean, Hillshire, or Tyson, those are three of our billion-dollar brands. Sure. That brings a level of credibility as they're searching for alternatives that hopefully they select us. But it's that's the first part of it. The second part, in terms of fulfillment, we have a massive supply chain. We're the largest refrigerated and frozen foods distributor, supply chain in the U.S. We're the largest U.S. food company. But that, is also something that has to go with. Once you order it, you got to fulfill it. So we think that's a competitive advantage.
Absolutely. What is your view of inflation? You are literally on the ground, from the hogs, the chickens, everybody. What are you seeing on the inflationary front? Because I hop into your earnings call and I get a sense that you haven't necessarily passed all that inflation on to the consumer yet.
Yeah, you're right. So if you listen to the call, we said this past quarter that a key element certainly is labor. So labor has been going up over the last few years. And we've been increasing wages, started 3 years ago, last 2 years has been nearly double digits. And so that is a cost that we are passing through, and so our guidance includes all that. The thing that is now, you're going to hear a lot of people talk about in the consumer space, is transportation. There's a driver shortage.
Very tight.
Very tight, and so those costs are going up. They have to pay drivers more to attract them to that job. And so we're wrestling with that. We are passing it through. It's not easy, but that is something that is certainly inflationary. and it's affecting, and we've told our investors this, second quarter is pretty tough, but then back half of the year, hope to get that seated.
What do those numbers look like? Are you talking mid-single? Should my package of Tyson go up a couple extra percent? Or are you talking something larger here?
So on the consumer level, it's not going to be that, meaningful in terms of total percentages. If you look at our cost base, and then what percentage is transportation of that? It's a meaningful amount in total. We've told our investors it's about $200 million for the year.
Wow.
Not a small amount of money.
200 million of inflation just in transportation.
Just in transportation, yeah, increased distribution costs.
Wow.
However, when the consumer gets it, depending upon the package, what it is, it may not seem that significant, but it will cost. Yeah, costs will inflate.
Wow. Wanted to switch gears to M&A, because that has been a very interesting story for you. Tyson Ventures, Beyond Meat, Memphis Meats, and Tovala. Hopefully I got that right.
Yeah.
What's next for you guys?
So if they think about three things, when you think about in terms of our growth models, we will acquire for sure. And so big acquisitions or small acquisitions. But then also you got to think about what we'll invest in terms of partnerships. We announced at Cagney this spice company out of Mexico called Tajín, and they are very sort of on the rise in terms of their perception in the U.S. So we'll do things that are very small and sort of partnership basis. But then we will invest, big like we did with Advanced Pierre on things that have synergies with us. We can get revenue or cost synergies. The investments that you mentioned are in the Tyson Ventures space. So Memphis Meats is a minority investment, Beyond Meat minority investment, and Tovala is a cooking system that takes
ovens, right?
Yeah, exactly, an oven that you scan it and it'll cook it exactly to the needs of the food in order so that you don't have to.
They didn't have this stuff when I was a kid.
No, exactly, me either. So we through that venture fund, we are seeding those investments. I think they're going to be, some of them will certainly be big. I think all of them will be, or we wouldn't invest in them. They're going to be smart investments. But we want to actively disrupt ourselves while we're continuing to grow our big brands and our emerging brands as well, which we don't get a lot of airtime in these discussions, but we have fantastic emerging brands like Adele's. Yeah.
I've got like three off of the M&A because I really wanted to talk to you. How big is big? When you mentioned big, do you have an appetite to go bigger than Hillshire, at $9 billion? Or can you go bigger than that?
We can. Right now we're about 2.4 times leverage.
Gotcha.
I think by the third quarter, that's what we've been telling our investors. That's when we're going to get to the 2 times leverage again. That's what we predict. And that's a really good place for us to be because we're a heavy cash flow company and use that cash to do a number of things. We constantly are reinvesting, in our business through capital. But as it relates to acquisitions, it does give us dry powder to do a significant acquisition. The question is, are there deals out there to be done that are going to be, the premium to be paid is not too significant.
Are there?
For us.
How's the environment?
It's hot, right? It's a seller's market, so those premiums are high.
Yeah.
So the valuations you really got to come with a lot of synergies, whether it's revenue or cost synergies to make those work for our share owners. So we are on the hunt. We constantly are looking. We have a full pipeline of companies we think would be great for Tyson. However, we're going to be smart about it. We're going to be disciplined and make sure that we can get those synergies out.
And how creative do you want to get? General Mills just bought a natural puppy food brand in kittens or whatever they're doing. How creative do you want to get?
So our strategy is to sustainably feed the world with the fastest growing protein brands. If it fits that, then we'll be acquisitive. And it could be a new geography, new brand, new capabilities. We've done acquisitions in all those spaces. For us to do something that would be a bit of a head snapper for our investors, probably not. I would say that's sticking to our strategy, but being bold if we find the right asset, we absolutely will be, but it's going to be hand in glove with our strategy.
I look at something like Beyond Meat. Didn't have that as a child. Is that the future? I mean, at some point, does the millennial crowd, they just give up chicken and that's all they're eating is Beyond Meat?
I can't see a world where they give up chicken. I do think that they're
or beef. You gotta show beef.
Yeah, sure. Beef or pork. What they are definitely focused on, I think most consumers are, but certainly millennials demonstrate this, is they want variety. They're not willing to sacrifice taste.
Yeah, of course not. Millennials just want everything.
It's got to taste great. So that's a hurdle to cross or to get over. But to the extent that it does, if they're really focused on great tasting, sustainable food, they have a tendency to say, hey, I'm going to give it a try. So that's why we think that's an area for us to focus on is whether it's plant-based protein, animal-based protein, we want to be in the conversation because we're intent on growing as a first matter. And the second is we just want to do things that are also adding to sustainability, and some of those concepts too.
How do you balance the humanitarian message of no food with antibiotics and profits? How are you doing that?
Intentionally is what I'd say. So when we started with thinking about our strategy as a company, and we first had to think about what our purpose is. What is the reason why somebody's going to want to work for us, and what do we have to do that's bigger than just making money? Yeah. And we decided we want to continue to raise expectations for the world on what good food can do. So not just the food itself, but the people that are running the company. And it became really aspirational for us to think about, well, we can do that through sustainability as well as, because sustainability projects, sometimes people think, well, they don't pay.
Sure.
We want them to pay to be good for our shareholders, at the same time be the right thing to be doing for the environment. So if we can thread that needle, which we have a lot of projects to do that actually can do that, we will be in a position where we're doing the right thing, as well as be an attractive investment for our shareholders, create a lot of value for years to come.
It's a good place to be. Yeah. 2 around the horn questions for you.
Yeah.
Tyson Blockchain, what's going on there?
So blockchain is something we have been in partnership with IBM taking a look at. I think it's going to have enormous impact on the food business. So we're looking at it right now from a food safety perspective. So it's giving visibility all on the chain. And
so tracking packages?
Absolutely,
Gotcha.
Yeah, on a moment's notice. So you can go into the system at the distributed ledger and find out where the package came from, and something that used to take weeks to do is now seconds.
Wow. Do you have a specific team inside of Tyson working on that, or is just
there are people that are on our team and people from IBM, as well as other partners that are trying to solve the situation. But what I'd say is, as it relates to food waste, which is a big issue, right? 34 pounds of food on a monthly basis are wasted by each human in the U.S. That is something that takes a lot of waste out of the system, to the extent that we have visibility across the entire supply chain. So we love that idea. And so it's nothing that is going to be overnight a solve, but that technology will feature large in food, I'm sure of it.
Do you think that's going to be eventually an industry standard? Because I have talked to a lot of the people in the food industry, not a lot of them are doing it.
Yeah, it's hard to get your head around. The conversation we had before we jumped into on Bitcoin is when you folks were talking about. The underlying technology, I think, is a little more easy to understand than the cryptocurrency.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. So I do believe that so if you attend conferences and see some of the things that are going on, there's lots of examples where people can actually see the results. So I think the more that we can demonstrate, proof of concept, results, put it in action, and actually get return, it'll start to gain momentum. But certainly, it's a new nascent technology.
Unbelievable. Last one, fun one. Favorite food recipe? I mean, you're touching all these products. What are you making at home?
Well, I make a lot of very few things at home because my wife is a fantastic cook. I do say I make a pretty mean clam chowder.
Okay.
So, but
we don't sell any clams. Come on, give me a chicken dish.
Exactly. Well, I'm from the wing, and but I absolutely love wings. I mean, wings of any type. I sort of lean towards barbecue, but we have an Anytizers line, which is a super easy way to make wings. Pull them out of the bag, put them in the oven, take them out, choose your sauce. And I would say I'd have to lean that direction. Not a very complicated, recipe, but that's the way I'd lean.
And where are you shopping for it? Is it an online? Is it on demand? Are you in that on-demand world?
Still in the store.
Still in
the store. I like to go in the store and like to see what's happening. Like, we go in for what might be a 5-minute shop, and it ends up taking 45 minutes because, of course, I'm looking at all the different food products that are around the store. But that's the burden of being in the food business.
Well, good luck this year. I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.